So excited you're here. Glad you could make it. I want to talk to you tonight about ego in a certain sense. Sometimes having too much ego can be just as damaging as having too little ego. It's that sense of self, that self awareness that all of us struggle with at different times in our lives. And as a matter of fact, I can't seem to get me off my mind most of the time. But I want to give you 12 ways to be perfectly miserable. I'm glad you clued in because I'm going to give you 12 ways to be completely miserable. So check it out. Here we go. Step number one, make yourself the center of your world. In other words, if your world is not right, none of the rest of the world is not right. As a matter of fact, make sure that you're at the center of every decision you ever make. Make sure that you keep yourself the center of your world. Don't let anybody else in. Keep yourself the center of your world. Number two, never stop thinking about yourself. That's right. You want to always think of yourself. Whenever you're thinking, think about you. Think about how you're doing and what you feel, and think about what you think. It's amazing if you've ever talked to somebody who thinks about themselves all the time. What they'll commonly do is spend a lot of time talking about themselves, and when they get tired, they will begin to ask you to talk about themselves for a while. So never stop thinking about yourself. Step three, pay close attention to everything that people say about you. In other words, as soon as you hear your name, perk up, listen in. For sure, they're talking about you, and make sure that that conversation gets all of your attention. Number four, insist that people agree with you. And whenever you encounter somebody who doesn't agree with you, you be sure and let them know how you feel. That's a great way to have a miserable time with somebody. Just make sure that they agree with you. Make sure that they do. Number five, expect to be appreciated. That's right. Any small and little thing you do for anyone else, expect some sort of payoff here. Make sure that everyone notices exactly what you've done to make their world better. As a matter of fact, if you don't get appreciated, I think there should be a little hell to pay. So make sure that you're appreciated in everything, no matter how great or small. Number six, sulk when you don't get your way. That's right. When you're not getting your way, make sure that everyone around you knows that you're not happy with the situation. Doesn't matter if it's the wrong table at the restaurant or if it's the wrong seat in the airplane. Make a big deal and make sure everyone understands exactly how you feel. Number seven, be very sensitive to any slights. In other words, somebody might mention something like, aren't you eating? Or don't you look a little pale? Anything that anyone could ever say about you, make sure that if it's a slight, that you never forget it. You want to make sure that you accentuate that and be real sensitive. Get ticked when you get slighted. Somebody cuts in front of you in line, boy, you let them know about it, okay? By the way, number eight, never forgive a criticism. In other words, somebody criticizes you for one thing or another, make sure that every time you talk to that person, you remind them of what they've done. It's a wonderful thing to never forgive a criticism because then they know that when they come to you, they better watch their words. That's for sure. That's a great way to do it. Number nine, trust nobody but yourself. That's right. Don't trust anyone. Look at everyone with a suspicious glare, knowing that they want something that you have, or maybe they want to hurt you and put you down. Trust nobody but yourself. Number 10, always be on the lookout for a good time for, you guessed it, you. Make sure that you're having a good time. Doesn't matter what's happening with anyone else. If you're in that quiet restaurant and you hear your favorite Billy Joel song come on, you go ahead and shout it out at the top of your lungs. Hey, listen. Always be on the lookout for a good time for yourself. Makes no difference who's around you or what else is happening. Just make sure that you're having a good time. Number 11, shirk your duties whenever you can get away with it. In other words, why do today what you should do today, what you can put off then till tomorrow? Why should you worry about that? If you can walk past something that needs to be taken care of, well, if it's a duty, you get to it, but if not, you don't care. Just make sure that you get by as just like water with as least resistance and just don't do what's asked of you. I mean, if you're at work and they ask you to do a certain job that you don't like, you can just kind of walk past. You want to be happy, shirk your duty, and that'll make you as miserable as possible. And then number 12, this is the last one. Do as little as possible for anyone and everyone else. Make sure that everyone else doesn't get a thing from you. Make sure that the lion's share of all that you have and all that you are belong to you. Now, I've given you the 12 steps to perfect misery. This will guarantee that you're going to have a miserable existence here on planet Earth. And if you're thinking, well, some of those things kind of got close to the way I deal with life, or some of the things that I do, I see a bit of myself in there. I'm sure you're thinking at a moment like that, how do I break the pattern? You know, what's the answer? Well, I'm going to start with your thinking. I think if that's reflective of the source of some of the drama and or misery in your life, I want to maybe give you a Bible verse. It comes from Proverbs. It's written by the guy who was considered in the Bible the most wise gentleman that ever appeared in it. It would be Solomon. Yes, he was given wisdom, and he wrote these words in Proverbs 14 and verse 12. He said, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." Or as somebody once told me, an old sage, he said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting to achieve a different result, that's nothing more than the perfect definition of insanity. So if you find yourself on a circle of misery, on a cycle of endless misery, I think maybe you need to change the way you think. I'll give you 3 little steps if you're interested in digging out from under misery. Number 1, no. No. Just, you could write down the word no. Know what is not working, okay? Write it down. Now, if it's not working, it's that source of pain. Now, if it's you, you have to look at what you're doing, not at what everything or everyone else is not doing. I want you to look at what you're doing. And if it's not working, maybe you need to change what you're doing. Number 2, I think it's time to grow. Yeah, first one was look, second one is grow. Grow outside of yourself. I want you to find challenges to serve or to give. Like, for instance, here's a toughie. If you're at Costco and you're walking out of the bathroom and you see that piece of paper towel on the floor, you would just say, well, it's not in my job description, and just walk on by. But that's a challenge for you to get outside of an imbalanced ego. Go down and serve. Pick it up, throw it in the trash, and go wash your hands again. That would just be one more challenge to step out. Here's another one. When you're in a merge situation and cars need to merge in, give the other car a chance. Or if somebody's got their turn signal and they want to turn left and you're kind of behind them a little, lay off the throttle a little bit and let them come on in. That's a challenge for you to grow outside of yourself and begin to see life from a different perspective. Number three. So it's know, grow, and then the last one, throw, okay? Throw yourself into anything other than you. Yeah. Give. Give of yourself. Go down to the local bread line. We have so many Brother Benos, and we've got all kinds of different organizations here in North County, anyway, that feed the homeless or help out with the poor. You can go and volunteer at a hospital. There's all kinds of volunteers out there. You can give of yourself. You can give of your finances. You can set aside some and find a worthy organization to contribute to. You can serve. That's the serving part. You can be in life to serve. Just simply say, I'm here to serve. How can I help you? In any area of your life, I found it, you can serve. You can serve in your relationship to your children. You can serve your kids, not expecting them to serve you, but to be an example of service. You can serve your wife, your husband. You can serve your roommates. You can clean. You can do all kinds of things to give yourself to serve. It'll really hurt the arrogant part of who you might be. The other thing is commit yourself wholeheartedly to service, knowing that if I can serve in any way, in every way, maybe I can get out of my way. And that's so important when you're trying to dig yourself out of misery. Now, one thing's for sure, because I'm a Christian, I know this, that in the midst of my greatest misery in life, someone came in and told me about Jesus. And Jesus came in as a servant. He came to serve, not to be served, and give his life as a substitute for many. And that he did. He sure did. And when he came into my life, he started pulling me out of me and getting me into him. He once said to his disciples in John chapter 14 in verse 6, he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. What he was saying is, I am the direction that you can new direction that you can begin to walk in. So let me encourage you. Pick up a Bible and read some of those red letters. Then he said, I am the truth. In other words, the absolute state of things as they are, not as I would have them, but as they are. And then he said, and I am the life. In other words, there is no life apart from the life that's found in his gift to us. What was his gift? Well, he laid down his life for us, that we might enjoy the life he gave. In other words, as we lay down our lives in response to what he gave, he gives his life in response to what we gave. What an original concept. And he said, there's no one who comes to the Father except through me. Why? Because none of us could have ever pulled that off. Jesus alone managed to make it happen. This is why he would press the point in John chapter 10 and verse 10, where he said, I have come that they may have life, and that more abundantly. See, it's one thing to simply be alive, but it's another thing to be living. And this is what we found in Jesus. Yes, he walked 33 and a half years all the way into Jerusalem, where after being so perfect and so good for so long, they couldn't stand it, so they nailed him to that cross. The Romans crucified him. The Jews conspired against him to get him to do it, and the disciples could do nothing but look on. There is a way, as Proverbs says, 14:12, that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. And all of the Rome, the Jews, all of the powers that conspired against Jesus in his earthly ministry thought that they had it figured out. But the end led not to Jesus' death, but only celebrated and facilitated his resurrection and yours and mine. Simply, if we would surrender our ego to him. Remember, your ego is not necessarily your amigo. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon.